We're going to take a look at a quick example of constructing a confidence interval for a population proportion. So here's the question. A poll of an SRS of 250 households in the US found that 210 of them subscribed to cable TV. Construct a 90% confidence interval to estimate the true proportion of US households that subscribe to cable TV. And using that interval, is 0.75 a plausible proportion? So in step 1, we need to explain what it is that we're setting out to do. We will estimate the true proportion of US households that subscribe to cable TV. We will construct a 1 prop z interval at the 90% confidence level. In the second step, what we need to do is explain the type of interval we're going to create and show that all the conditions are met. Now we kind of did that already. We have stated that we will construct the 1 prop z interval at the 90% level. And the conditions that need to be met are that, number 1, it's an SRS, and the sample is stated to be an SRS. We need at least 10 successes and 10 failures. You can think of that as NP greater than or equal to 10, and N1 minus P greater than or equal to 10. And those both are. We have 210 successes and 40 failures. And finally, we need to make sure that the population is sufficiently large compared to the sample, that the population is more than 10 times the sample, and there are more than 2,500 households in the US, so conditions are met. Step 3, we need to make some calculations. The first one is our point estimate. So 210 out of 250 gives us a point estimate, a sample proportion of 0.84. The next thing we'll do is calculate our confidence interval. The formula here is that the confidence interval is equal to our point estimate plus or minus the critical value times the standard deviation. The critical value is z star, the number of standard deviations away we need to go in the normal curve to encompass 90% of the statistics, and that's 1.64. And since we don't know p, we'll use p hat in its place, and our standard deviation is 0.84 times 0.16 over 250, all in the square root. Once that's all calculated, our confidence interval is 0.84 plus or minus our margin of error, 0.038. Last thing to do is to interpret what that interval means. So we are 90% confident that the true proportion of US households who subscribe to cable is between 0.802 and 0.878. And now we can answer that question, is 0.75 a plausible proportion? Well, since 0.75 is outside our confidence interval, it is probably not plausible as the true proportion. It's not very far outside of the interval, but it's not within our range of plausible values. So we can say that it is likely not to be plausible as the true proportion.